first 3 games of the series, Eric Spoelstra, who I think is the best coach in the league, I think pretty unanimous at this point, thoroughly outcoached Joe Mazzulla. The big hubbub happens in the post game after post 3, where Mazzulla describes like a disconnect where he just feels like these guys, they're not on the same page. Everyone makes a big deal out of it. All of a sudden, Joe Mazzulla comes back the last 2 games. He's much more aggressive with his timeouts, putting these guys in position to actually succeed, like drawing up plays when they don't have anything going. Mo, like especially in game 4, the one Jaylen Brown's kind of pinned in the corner, they take a timeout, they come out and they actually draw up a play for a 3 and get a bucket out of it. I mean, this is just night and day difference from Joe Mazzulla. He looked like a deer in headlights for the first 3 games, and now all of a sudden he's coaching with a little bit more confidence. So it feels like something has changed there in the locker room.
Yeah, and also like I think it's him. I think also part of it, everything you said was important, and also and his guys are playing better.
Yes.
Like that was the thing I found so unfair of the criticism of Mazzulla, and I've been critical all year of Mazzulla, been crushing him a ton. You can go see everything I've written, and at the end of the day, it was the guys were not performing, not to the level that we expect. Tatum finished 4th in the MVP voting, and he hadn't looked like that in the first 3 games as that type of candidate. Jaylen Brown finished second All-NBA, second team All-NBA. He didn't look like that for the most part of the series, and I think that's and then everybody equates that to coaching. Like sometimes the guys just aren't playing well. Like when your 2 best players are not playing well, shocker, you're going to lose. Miami's 2 best players have not played well the past games 4 and 5. Shocking. Miami has lost. Like it's just kind of the way it goes. Those guys had to play better. And I thought Mazzulla was unfairly maligned. And he's a dumbass. He says stupid things at the press conferences and makes quibs about adjustments and whatnot and things like that. But he's also a 34-year-old idiot. Takes a minute.
Well, I also think, you talked about training camp. I mean, Mazzulla didn't have a training camp as the head coach of this team. And this whole year has kind of been, we're not going to make excuses for him. They made him to the conference finals, right? Like this is a good basketball team and he's done enough. But I think the big difference that we've seen in the last 2 games he's put them in positions to win, not just help them skate along.
Before Seth, because Seth made a face, and before Seth makes that thing about making a face there, I just want to say what I've been saying and trying to hammer into people here is Mazzulla got this job 3 days before training camp. Will Hardy got the Utah job end of June or in June.
Yeah.
Right? Like just think about the preparation time Will Hardy had versus Joe Mazzulla. And I know he was part of the staff and whatnot, but Mazzulla was handed this job and he was already 3-4 months behind regular first year head coaches. And I think that's an important distinction there. And a lot of people feel like with this Celtics team, you can just walk into 55 wins or whatnot. That's really disrespectful. The coaching and the players and the league itself. You can't walk into wins in this league. And we've kind of saw it this year with just how tough every night was for teams. Seth, now go ahead and you made a face.
Yeah,
go for it.
No, I am. First of all, I'm glad you brought up Will Hardy because remember, kind of late summer last year, we had talked about, boy, I hope they get this Donovan Mitchell trade done so Will Hardy can have a real training camp instead of being a substitute teacher. And I think this is why. And I think that probably played a big role in Utah, like surprising some people this year, is actually having their team in training camp. The second side of this is I think that we are making. Yes, I think Mazzulla has done a good job the last couple of games. How much of it is just the guys not throwing the ball around
that's
gym?
a big. I mean, that's the biggest part of it.
And making jump shots, and Miami starting to throw the ball around the gym and not making like so much of this is like it's not. This is not. I don't feel like this series has been like super X's and O's. I feel like it's been team A plays good, team B plays bad, and it's been largely the Heat playing well, the Celtics playing bad. In the last 2 games, it's flipped. And that's not cutting
Mazzulla
analysis. But
Mazzulla has called the timeouts much more. The last couple games, when they start to play bad, he's not just letting them play out the string.
Seth, you could roll your head at that one. He's done a much better job with it.
It's
And
a
if
big
you go
difference.
back, especially in game 4, when he called timeouts and he got them refocused in whatever the hell he said in those timeouts, and there's a great mic'd up from game 4 with his timeout. I think the team has gone on runs, big runs, 18-5 runs, 12-0 runs after that. Like that's the value of the timeout. Hey, guys, stop playing like dumbasses.
Listen,
Could just be all you needed to say in the timeout, and that might have been what worked.
Watching the Boston Celtics come out of a timeout that was called when they had nothing happening on offense, come out and run a play for a shot. That's a game changer. I mean, that's how like this team is just kind of operated, right? Where they come out and they run just one play, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a whole new world.
I don't want to dismiss what Mo is saying, and I agree to an extent. I feel like, especially like the timeout, we're just making way more out of it. Like if you get beat by 25, you didn't get beat by 25 because you called a timeout two possessions late. You got beat by 25 because you sucked all night. And so you're not wrong, but the level of emphasis that's being put on, he called timeouts in the right spot, so therefore blah blah blah. He called timeouts in the right spot, and also Jason Tatum was being a playmaker instead of.
But we're not fighting that. We're not fighting that. But in the moments like this has been the largest complaint, though. In the moments when they've gotten away from what they've needed to do, he has stood on the sideline. Go back to that third quarter in game 1, the 46-25 quarter. The only timeout Boston took was the mandatory one. Like it's not that's the stark difference in that stuff. Yeah, you can call the timeout if the guys don't execute. Yeah, it sucks. But that's all the coach can do in that instance. And I feel like that's the thing. And there were instances in game 4 and game 5 where I was looking at Spo going like, hey man, timeout. Your team needs one. You need one. They're important. That and the rotation is the only weapon the coaches have. And that's so when you use them is the deal. And I think that's the important thing there, and how you use them in going forward. So I think it does matter. And yeah, the guys have to play better. That's the most important.
Call a timeout to get Jimmy Butler next to a cup of coffee so he plays like with energy.
But that's part of it. Sometimes it's a timeout and slap him in the face. Wake up.
Yeah.